Hey guys, this is Artful Kisses, and I'm flipping through an old sketchbook looking for an idea of something to draw, and I found this chicken, inspired by when my family went to Kauai, which is a Hawaiian island, for vacation back in 2014, is the year that sketchbook is from. And they have lots of just wild chickens running around the whole island. And so to symbolize, well, just to as being inspired as a Hawaiian chicken, I gave him this flowery necklace, and I realized it's not the Hawaiian flowers, but it was just inspiration for an idea. I got an idea from it, even though it's not. I'm not illustrating that particular thing. I'm just taking the idea and making it into something else, which leads me into today's topic, which is places to get ideas from and just suggestions. And this can help with art block too, maybe. And where I got this particular idea from was I just grabbed my oldest doodle sketchbook, which is sketchbooks that I used for a whole year at a time. And my oldest one was from 2014. And I just flipped through it and realized, man, there's really not a whole lot of like sustainable ideas in there. Most of it was just practicing stuff. So it was just bits and pieces. So probably one of my favorite places to get ideas for a new illustration is looking through old art, and if not, like sometimes redrawing an old piece of work. And I think I have a video about that and why I love to do it so much. But also just to get an idea, you can improve upon an idea, because I used to draw just portraits all the time and not a whole lot of solid ideas. Whereas now I'm trying to get like a story for each picture, and this one doesn't really portray much of a story other than why on earth is this a flowery chicken? Um, so I kind of failed on that bit here, but my goal was really just to have something I could draw kind of fast, because over the weekend I didn't draw quite as much because I finally got to go home and visit my family. But since I didn't used to draw stories ever, which is funny because I drew pictures to go along with my stories. I drew my characters that were in stories, but I didn't have a whole lot of drawings that were stories themselves. And that's my goal, especially right now that I'm focusing on, is to get stories with my pictures. But I didn't have a whole lot of that previously, especially that year. It was a lot of pages of practicing feet and hands and various body types, as opposed to making the same skinny people I always made from my anime influence and all that kind of stuff. Face shapes. It was kind of boring. So this was the most interesting thing I found in there, honestly. But other places that I like to get ideas from are just something simple as like watching the world around me. And one of those things specifically that I go to is my pets. I have a German Shepherd dog, and I have a cockatiel bird, and they're kind of fun to watch. They're weird and quirky, and so I get ideas by just watching them and seeing what they do, how they behave, and can kind of turn that into a story. Like how my dog managed to eat like half of a peanut butter can, that actual can. Or my bird will do really weird dances. And so that's a place to get ideas. Also, a huge one is from looking at other art from other artists. And this can be plenty of places. Watching art videos on YouTube is one of my favorites, because then I can get an idea of new techniques I want to try also. Looking at stuff on Instagram, Pinterest, art books, even comic books and cartoons. I have spent like my whole teenage years were collecting various comic books. So I've got those that I like to look at for ideas, because those definitely tell a story, and so that was really helpful to me. But also just watching cartoons. A lot of times I play cartoons while I'm working on art, especially if I'm not drawing anything in particular. I'm just practicing, and it inspires me to try out certain things that I look at and think that's cool, and it's something I'm not really great at. So there's also that. And lastly, or at least the last one I have written down at the moment, is art challenges. And those are really great. You can find them on Instagram, DeviantArt, Tumblr, any sort of online artist community. You can make up your own. There's plenty of them out there. I just did one recently, the Styles Challenge, where you take one character or person and draw them in different styles, different cartoon styles. There's clothing challenges where you look up like on, I know I've seen them on Pinterest. I'm not sure where they're from, but there's these pictures that it's just a bunch of articles of clothing to make an outfit without an actual person in them, and then you try to draw a person wearing that outfit is another challenge I like. There are a lot of them. Primary color challenges one I did recently where I only used primary colors, and there's just all sorts of them. So looking up various art challenges is a great idea, and it helps you practice specific things. If you want to have an actual illustration, looking at the world around you and just writing down ideas when they come to you, like silly things. Every once in a while, I'll look at something totally normal, and I'll just start laughing because I think of something totally ridiculous that could be implied by it, some sort of pun, or what if something was slightly different. I don't have any examples off the top of my head at the moment, but just random things like that. And then I later on go and draw them into either like a little comic, 1 or 2 panel comic, or some sort of illustration. And so those are hard to come up with off the top of your head randomly or whenever you want them. It's a lot easier if you write them down as they come to you. They'll be more natural. They'll feel a lot less forced. And that way you just have a list of ideas whenever you need them. I definitely am guilty of having all sorts of lists of art that I want to do, just different ideas. And a lot of times, most of those ideas I never get to, but I have them written down. If I need an idea, I've got it written down. Other things I do if I'm just trying to practice, like recently I've been really practicing different kinds of animals and trying to learn how to draw things off my memory, which means I draw them without looking at references first and then look at references later and see how I did. But something I do is my husband will sit there playing video games and I'll ask him just a random animal. And so he'll tell me a random animal and then I'll try to draw it and then I'll ask him another one. And sometimes I can get annoying with that probably, but it helps a lot because then it's coming a lot faster to me than if I were to sit there and trying to think of what do I want to draw next. A lot of times someone else can come up with something a lot faster if you just say, name this type of object really fast off the top of your head, first one you think of, because they're not thinking about the possibility of it. How hard will this be to draw? What will it look like? What thing do I want to see drawn? If you don't even, I mean, he always knows, but if you're just with a random friend, if they don't know that you're planning to draw whatever thing they say, it's a lot easier because then they're not thinking about, ooh, what will the drawing look like, or what do I want to see, or something like that. And here we've got the finished chicken. The background was kind of random and crazy, not planned, but thanks for watching, and go and create something.